Hello. Welcome back, everyone. The next book analysis we were going to work on, A Death in the Family by James Agee or Agee. This book was a little hard for me to get through. Editing Ashley here. This essay is a little bit of a train wreck, so I'm just going to pop in periodically and add my 2 cents, okay? Okay. Bear with me. A Death in the Family by James Agee is about a father who goes on a drive to check on his own father, who's in a bad way. He gets there, finds out his dad's okay, and he drives home, and on the way home, he ends up getting in a car accident that kills him. Kind of wanted the son to have a moment, like a spirit moment with his dad or some revelation, but I guess that's not honest. I think that's part of what this book is trying to tell us is grief is an isolating experience. Each character processes the grief in different ways. This is a loving family and they try to help one another process their grief. They don't quite reach one another's inner worlds. Each character goes through the grieving process alone. We see how faith, shame, and maybe even emotional limitations affect how they interact with one another and how they deal with loss. So chapter 1, we start with the family at supper. Jay and Mary married, and then their children, which is Rufus and the daughter. I think Rufus is around 6, and then the daughter is like 4. Jay wants to go to a picture show and Mary is like completely disapproving because the main character in the show uses a cane to look up women's skirts. They end up going together anyhow. After the picture show, Rufus and his dad end up sitting down somewhere. Rufus is observing his dad. He felt that although his father loved their home and loved all of them, he was more lonely than contentment of this family love could help. Jay deeply loves his family, yet that love can't entirely relieve his loneliness. His central idea that closeness and isolation can exist simultaneously. Jay gets home, the kids go to bed, and then at 2 a.m. gets a call from his drunk brother, Ralph. Ralph tells him he needs to come home. The father had a heart attack. Mary gets up and starts to make Jay's breakfast. She made him a full breakfast. Before he leaves, he makes the bed for her. It's not a super warm, cozy, fluffy marriage. It's more of a, they do acts of service for one another. So then chapters 3 to 5, Jay goes onto a barge and then they pick up some other people. Chapter 6, Jay gets to his father's house. We are introduced to his brother Ralph, who is drunk. Whenever he's trying to get everyone in the barn together to like talk about what they might need to do next about the dad, trying to take charge of the situation, but everyone can tell he's drunk. And so they're all kind of like, okay, Ralph. When they're treating him differently, Ralph is perceiving them as like, they must think I'm a failure. And he just keeps like sneaking away to take more drinks. His nerves that he's feeling, he's trying to stifle those with the drinks. So his emotions that he has on the inside and the things that happen on the outside, this difference between a family that loves him, but he has this internal insecurity. And then we get to chapter 7. This is the son. He's dreaming and he screams for his father, and his father comforts him by lighting matches where he was afraid of the dark. There's a really cool quote in this part. It says, "How far we all come. How far we all come away from ourselves. So far, so much between. You can never go home again." You can go home. It's good to go home. But you never really get all the way home again in your life. And what's it all for? All I tried to be, all I ever wanted and went away for. What is it all for? As we go on in time and we learn and obtain experiences, we can't ever go back to the innocent person that we were. And we also can't have the same experiences again. And the people were surrounded by change because aging and death and life, new life, old life. Your home from when you were little is not ever the same as your home now. Eventually, as we age and get a lot older, our home looks less familiar because everyone that we are familiar with is no longer around. Part 2. We're back with Mary and the children at the house. Mary gets a phone call and a man, and he wants to speak with a man in the family. Mary doesn't get to know what happened. She's like, is he okay? And the guy just says he was in an accident and doesn't tell her. Her aunt comes over. Both these women are religious and try to pray as a way to calm themselves down. Mary approaches grief through faith and surrender. So whenever Mary is reaching and trying to pray, Hannah has a moment where she's like, God is not here, which reveals grief overpowering faith. While Mary is turning towards faith as a source of comfort, Hannah begins to see prayer as a form of denial or avoidance. So while they sit kneeling side by side, together with love, they are experiencing grief separately. Chapter 10 to 12, Mary finally finds out Jay died and that Jay hit his head in a certain spot and died on impact, and it was very specifically unlucky that he died. Everybody comes to her house. It's her dad, her mom, her brother, and her dad pulls her aside and basically telling her, like, don't lose your brain, don't lose your mind through all this. He also tells her to have some drinks. He's trying to like calm her down through drinking. He's like, this is a test that good people go through. Her dad, he's trying to relieve her grief physically through the alcohol, but he's failing to meet her emotionally because grief is an isolating experience. He can't take her grief away. He can only sit with her in this pain. They're all giving her advice and telling her what to do, talking about how there's a lesson in this grief. The same night that Jade died, trying to immediately band-aid and solve the weight and shock of grief that probably hasn't even hit everybody yet. Then in the morning, Mary tells Rufus and her daughter about Jay's death. The children experience grief through confusion rather than full comprehension. Rufus and his sister recognize the emotional disruption around them, but they don't grasp the permanence of death. This creates another form of isolation within the family between the young and the old who process grief differently. In the final chapters, the focus shifts from the shock of his death to how the family begins to live in the aftermath. And how everyone finds meaning. For example, Uncle Andrew sees a butterfly land on the casket and thinks it's a symbol of peace and transcendence. He needs meaning in the face of death to make sense of the suffering and grief. He then gets mad at the priest not conducting a full burial due to Jay not being baptized. This just shows how unstable and personal grief is. The funeral brings everyone together in an attempt to create meaning, because grief itself can't be shared or solved. No matter how close, people cannot fix each other's grief. Grief is an isolating experience that must be resolved alone through your own personal meaning. And there you have it. That's the end of my thesis book essay. I'll let other me take over to fill you in on what's next. Next coming book analysis is going to be Flesh. I'll put it in my YouTube on my description so you can start reading it. Thank you for taking the time to watch. See you in the next one. I hope you have a great week, and comment below if you have anything you'd like to add. If you thought this book was great, please tell me why. I'd like to hear from other people. Bye.